Hello there, my name is Christine Bagley-Jones and I'm a psychologist with over 30 years experience, mostly working in private practice, helping adults to live their happiest lives. During the course of my work, I've been fortunate enough to learn a lot of different modes of therapy, and one I particularly enjoy and have seen wonderful benefits with is Schema Therapy. To tell you a little bit about Schema Therapy, I'd like to start by sharing its origins. A psychotherapist by the name of Jeffrey Young invented it in the 80s. He discovered in his work that a lot of the people he was engaging in therapy with weren't getting the benefits he'd hoped via some of the more popular modes at the time, for example, cognitive behavioral therapy. It seemed that there were certain people that didn't get the benefit by understanding the relationship between how our thoughts are generating our feelings and how to change the way we feel. We would look to the way we're thinking and our thinking patterns. There were certain people that while they might have understood this concept, it didn't actually penetrate change. So he went about deeply researching why this might be. Schema therapy proposes that people that have had particularly difficult childhoods will develop early maladaptive traits, or maladaptive schemas if you like. These are core beliefs that a person might have about themselves or about the world. I'll give you an example of how a schema might play out in one person's life. Imagine 10-year-old Johnny. His dad every week would promise to take him to the park on Saturday to kick a ball around. He'd spend the whole week thinking about kicking the ball with his dad and getting very excited about it. But unfortunately, by the end of the week, Dad would renege and not follow through with his promise. This would leave Johnny feeling depleted, confused, sad, and generally affected in a very negative way. Over time, Dad would still make these promises, but the difference was Johnny stopped believing in Dad. He didn't trust his dad anymore. And in that environment, that was an adaptive coping mechanism because he didn't get disappointed. He just didn't believe that Dad was going to follow through. So Johnny no longer had those sad feelings and he was able to go along with his week without having those mood swings. The problem is once we grow up and we get to choose our own environments as adults, we run the risk of carrying these old, outdated thought processes and belief systems and applying them to our adult life. And that's where we fall into all sorts of trouble, because what we hope is when we get to choose our environment and our people, we can have adaptive, healthy adult types of interactions and relationships and not carry with us some of the trauma and disappointments that have happened that we've had to adapt to in our dysfunctional upbringing. What we want to work towards in terms of schema therapy is to be the happy child, where we're the happy, playful adult that can enjoy the world with zest and a nice balance of trust and enthusiasm and curiosity. And we also want to be the healthy parent, where we look after ourselves and the people around us through the lens of what a healthy, adaptive parent would be. So one of the key elements of this therapy is to reparent yourself, and with the guidance of a psychologist, there are actual strategies and techniques where you can learn how to nurture yourself in a way maybe you didn't have the opportunity to experience during your own childhood. And that's one of the things I love most about schema therapy, the fact that we can rewrite a lot of scripts. And we do that through lots of different strategies. One of them is imaginary interactions that we can engage with the client, where we ask them to go into various scenarios where they have been psychologically harmed, and we get them to rewrite that script and change the story so that it has a better outcome. We have one of my favorites is the empty chair technique, where that limited reparenting can take place in the consult room, where I might ask a client to take the role of the difficult, unloving, or harshly judging parent and have them speak to their younger self. Or I could even coach them by asking them, would you like me to talk to your difficult, harsh caregiver when you were young? It is exciting once I start therapy with someone and day one I can get an idea of where their struggles might be on a daily basis. And then as we get to know each other and as the relationship deepens, we understand where their pain points have come from, and then tools are created together that heal. Once they've identified where they've felt neglected, unseen, mistreated, they then can be the balm themselves. They don't need to outsource it to the perpetrator. They don't need society to forgive or acknowledge them. They can do it all themselves within the context of good schema therapy or other types of therapy that begs the question, why do I not feel good enough? Why do I not feel loved? We, I guess, unlock a person's ability to believe in themselves and have a renewed vigor around the relationship they get to have, the longest relationship, the one that they get to have with themselves. So as you can imagine, the therapy in itself is very sensitive, it's very nuanced, and it can be very effective if you've got time to deeply understand the client, understand what's holding them back, realize what their schemas are and where they've come from, because identifying with the schema on its own isn't enough. You've got to be able to track it back to its origins, because that's where the healing, the reparenting, the reimagining how they want to be now will happen through their inner, they're the younger child self being able to be heard, seen, loved, understood. So then they, as an adult, can feel that sense of confidence and that sense of knowing and calm that maybe wasn't afforded to them as they were growing up. One thing I can say for sure is everyone has the potential to change. It just depends on how much you want to change.